Hey drummers, it's Rob Litton here from drumstheword.com. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to this free mini song lesson where today I'm going to be showing you how to play the best parts and the most important parts from the song The Day I Tried to Live by Soundgarden, drummed by the Groove Master himself, the genius Matt Cameron. And this song was suggested over on my YouTube community page. A couple of weeks ago I posted a song request post where my YouTube followers were able to then type in their own song suggestions, and then also go back into the comments and click the like button for any other songs they like. And the songs with the most requests or the most upvotes would be chosen for future lessons. And I've already done a couple from that list, but this is the latest one from there. So if you want to make your own song suggestions and you're a YouTube follower, not a Facebook follower, then go to my community tab. You'll find it on the front page of my channel, click on community, and then you'll see the post. It's a big obvious image asking for your song suggestions. And I'm sure I'll do more in the future. So you can download all 3 pages of the PDF transcription from my website for free, of course. You can find the link for this beneath this video. I've got 9 of the best parts, most important beats and fills from the song. So have this printed out in front of you as we go through this together. So, starting off with 133 BPM, it's a sort of medium tempo sort of song this. Nothing too fast, but like all Soundgarden songs, there's lots of twists, and the main twist in most of their songs, and including in this one, is the use of odd time signatures. So for the main part, the main structure of this song, I'm hearing it as a bar of 7, a bar of 4, and a bar of 4. That's 7 beats in the first bar, 4 in the second, 4 in the third. And that structure then gets repeated. Now you could hear it many other different ways. You could hear it as a bar of 4, a bar of 3, then 2 bars of 4. That also goes with the melody. But I found that my 7/4 at the beginning works very well with the melody as well. It made sense to me. So that first bar is in 7, then we got 2 bars of 4/4. But like I said, you can split that up any way you like or count it any way you like. But that's how I've chosen to count it. So Matt comes in with the drums at 34 seconds after the intro. And I've written here, note, Matt is playing the hi-hat foot on quarter notes during the floor tom sections. So whenever Matt is down here on the floor tom, he's maintaining quarter notes with the hi-hat foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I decided for this lesson is that I wouldn't include it on the drum transcription or try to include it with the teaching I'm about to show you, because it makes it so much harder to take off the page, so much more advanced. And if you're that sort of advanced drummer, then adding in the quarter note with your hi-hat foot shouldn't be that much of a challenge for you. If you're a new or intermediate drummer and you just want to have a go at this drum beat, then having the hi-hat foot going as well makes it so much more difficult when it's not an essential part of the song. You do hear it pop out because there are gaps in the groove where that hi-hat foot sticks out, but no one's going to miss it. It's really the floor tom, bass drum and snare drum. And if you want to add in the quarter note on the hi-hat foot, like I'll show you in the demonstration later on, then you can, but don't feel you have to. It's not that important, and it makes it so much harder to take off the page. So, first bar of 7/4. First half of the bar, we can sort of hear it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, sort of on the downbeat, then on the upbeat. So the first part of the bar, Matt's playing 1 and 2, and he uses the bell of the ride cymbal to accent with the snare drum in these cool places. Underneath it, he's playing 1 and 2 and, so he gets 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Then for the second half of the bar, it's kind of repeated but in an interesting new way, starting on the and a beat 4, so it feels like you're up on the upbeat because you are, and when you sync it with the hi-hat foot, you'll certainly feel that. You're suddenly playing in between what your quarter notes are playing on the hi-hat, sort of. We get there starting from the and a beat 4, and 5 and throughout the song, Matt is definitely playing more ghost notes. They pop out occasionally, they're quite hard to hear. So I've tried to include all the ghost notes I'm hearing in this first section, but there might be more, and if you don't feel comfortable playing the ghost notes, then certainly leave them out. But that snare drum on the and a beat 5 written in brackets is a ghost note. So the bass drum's playing and 5, 6, and 5, 6, and that floor tom there with the right hand, you'll feel that on the upbeat, and 5, 6, and 5 and 6, and 5 and 6. That snare drum there, the ghost note in between. Then up to the snare drum and bell for beat 7, 7 and he plays a little ghost note afterwards, after each of those beats on 7. But it's very quiet. Don't play because that won't sound correct. If you can't play the ghost note quietly, then leave it out. So that first bar of 7, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 7 and. It's quite hard to count the 7 and because 7's got 2 syllables. But yeah, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 7 and. Then we go into the bars of 4/4 where basically the pattern from 7/4 is repeated. 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and then exactly the same idea as starting from the and beat 4 in that bar of 7, and 1 going into the next bar, and 1 and then 2 and. Before we just had 2, we had and 1 and 2. Now it's and 1 and 2 and, nicely with the bass drum, pushing into the next bell on beat 3. 3 followed immediately afterwards with the open hi-hat and bass drum on the and at beat 3. 3 and. Now you'll play the open hi-hat with your left hand because your hi-hat will be over here, your ride will be over here. It's just easier to not do that but do this. If you have to, then you can, of course, but it's a little bit tricky. Well, not tricky, it's just you have to move quite fast. So I'll be using my right hand just because it's there, but you'll probably use your left hand for these open hi-hat stabs, especially later on in the chorus where we're playing up on the bell. Just some open hi-hat stuff. You want to use your left hand probably. So those 2 bars of 4/4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I might miss the bell occasionally because this bell is rather small in this electric ride, so I might hit the nut occasionally, so forgive me for that. So that first line, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Sorry, counting it as a bar of 4 and then a bar of 3, but you could do that as well. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and. Do the whole line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So on to the next line, and the bar of 7/4 underneath the first line is identical to the first bar. Then onto the second bar where another ghost note pops out, rather obviously to me. I can definitely hear this ghost note, where at the beginning of the bar of 4/4 he plays 1 and 1 and 1 and the ghost note there with the bass drum on the and beat 1, 1 and 2 and 3. Then the rest of that bar is exactly the same as the line above it, and 1 and 2 and, but instead of playing 3 and, he plays 3 and the bell, the ride cymbal moves to the and beat 3, so it's slightly, it might throw you off a little bit because it's in a new place all of a sudden. 3 and with the bass drum. So that second line, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, I did it again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right, so let's now hear those 2 lines played up to speed with the hi-hat foot stepping as well. Without the microphones, you can hear just the drums. Here we go. So straight after that intro section, those 2 lines are really all he plays for the intro with the bell, using the bell, the ride cymbal. Then he settles into a groove for the rest of the song, for the other verses. And at 47 seconds, these are the first 3 bars he plays using the flam snare drum instead of the bell. And I believe the snare drums are still in the same place, beat 3 and beat 7 of the bar of 7, and then beat 3 of the 2 bars of 4. It's like a half-time kind of groove. So again, without the hi-hat foot, there's not much ghost notes going on here. I believe Matt takes out, when he plays it live, he certainly throws in a lot more ghost notes, but on the recording, he plays it very clean. So we get very, very similar structure to our intro. 1 and 2 and 3, but there's the flam on beat 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So same as we had before, but before I think we had and 5 and 6 with a ghost note. Now it's just clean. And 5 and 7 and 5 and 6 and 7. Sorry about this, counting it is kind of weird. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and. I'm sort of hearing the melody in my head rather than counting it, which is why I'm making mistakes with the counting, I think, because I'm hearing the melody, which helped me to get through this a little bit easier. So then on to the bar of 4/4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then the same idea as before, and 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and that open hi-hat there on the and of beat 3. And I believe that gets repeated again. So those 3 bars, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now let's hear those 3 bars a couple of times up to speed. So then at 1 minute 14, Matt moves to the open hi-hat. And it's our same idea. We're still playing in the 7/4/4 structure. The snare drum backbeats are still falling in the same places, but the bass drum's doing a lot more work now. It changes slightly. So the bar of 7/4 at the beginning, we're playing quarter notes with the right hand on the open hi-hat. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7. Then the bar of 4/4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. Then the last bar of 4/4 on that line. 1 and 2 and 3 bass drums. 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4 and 1. The flam on the beat 4 there. 3 and 4 and 1. Then the next line, the bar of 7/4 is identical to the line above. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7. But then for the next bar of 4/4, Matt does this cool little 3-note ruff, which he repeats throughout the song. Now, I'm not sure what the sticking he used, but it makes sense to me. A lot of drummers do this, including myself, is play it as right, right, left. The reason being that you start with your right hand and you end with the right hand moving into the hi-hat. And it's not really counted as anything, it's just you sort of throw the 3 notes into the next beats. That's why it's written next to beat 1, is that you think of it as, or I feel it as, pushing into beat 1. I'm not really counting it, I'm just pushing into beat 1. 1, 1. And it'll make more sense when I play it in context in a second. Now after that, we don't get a bass drum on beat 1 there. The bass drum comes in on the and of beat 1 after that hi-hat, after that ruff, with a ghost note as well. You might do that accidentally, like I did there, where that ghost note takes you by surprise and you kind of don't get it lined up exactly with the bass drum. Then it continues 2 and 3, a snare and crash there on beat 3, 3, 4 and then the last bar's got a drum fill in it. 1, 2, a 3. So that bass drum there pushing into beat 3, just before beat 3, 1, 2, a 3, 1 and 2, a 3. And then it's hard to hear, but I think Matt's playing this. And 4E and 4E. I don't think he's using the bass drum for that drum fill. I think it's all toms. You can use any toms you like. I happen to be using this tom here, but you could use the high tom. It doesn't matter what toms you use. So those 6 bars slowly, and I'll play up to speed for you. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and a 1. So now let's hear that up to speed. So then at 1 minute 41, we have our first chorus, and Matt is playing up on the bell, the ride cymbal, and the choruses are all in 4/4. So we've gone to a standard sort of time signature, 4 beats per bar. There's no 7 in it. It's just we're going to go for 4/4 all the way through the chorus, which is a little bit easier to count. It's a half-time drum beat. The snare drum backbeat falls on beat 3 each time, and it's really just a case of looking out for where the bass drum is falling, and then these open hi-hat stabs as well. So the first bar, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and I'll do that quite a lot. Apologies, I'm going to keep all these mistakes in for you. not to tease you, but to show you how tricky some of this stuff is. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Second bar has the stab of the hi-hat on the and of beat 3, the hi-hat bark. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. And that's when using the left hand really makes sense, because this is how Matt played it as well. The right hand gets to stay up on the bell of the ride cymbal, not to move off it. And your left hand does a little hi-hat bark. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Then the same for the third bar as the first bar, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Third bar, very simple drum fill, sorry, fourth bar, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. And I hear the bass drum come down with that first snare drum, 3 and 4 and. It could be 4 and, it doesn't matter what tom you use. Simple as that. Next line, bar 1, we get 1, 2 and. He throws an extra bass drum there on the beat 2. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Do that again. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Next bar is the same as the bar above it. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Bar 3, 1, 2 and. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Bar 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Classic, very simple drum fill. 3 and 4 and 1. And then the chorus ends each time with this extra 2 bars. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then the last bar, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. 3 and 4 and 1. And do use the left hand for the crash cymbal because it flows easier. It's a little bit easier to play perhaps as well. You could play 3 and 4 and 1. But that's not how Matt plays it. If you've got 2 crash cymbals, great. If you've only got 1 crash, then just use the 1 crash. It doesn't really matter. But notice that bass drum come down on beat 3. And the first crash there on the and of beat 4 pushing into beat 1 and 1. I haven't written beat 1, but that's what he goes into. So it's pretty simple. Let me just play it up to speed for you. All 3 lines. Here we go. So at 2 minutes 26, we're back to our floor tom groove, and I included this because of the cool drum fill at the end. I really love this drum fill, the way Matt plays it. So the first 2 bars, the bar of 7, the bar of 4, are basic grooves from, I've showed you already, the verse group with the extra ghost notes and the flams on the snare drum. So let me just briefly show you the first bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and. The next bar, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and we go into and 1 on its own. This is the drum fill bar now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in time can I get properly 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. That's certainly how I would play it. I think Matt plays, you wouldn't play 2 and 3 and there's no need at this tempo. Just right on the floor tom. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. It's a lot of fun to play that drum fill. So that line slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So let's hear that up to speed as well. So then another cool little drum fill that popped out for me is at 3 minute 01. The bar before, it's in the chorus. I think it's the last 2 bars of the chorus. I can't remember exactly, but we got a hi-hat stab in the first bar. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Then the last bar with the drum fill. 1, 2. And what Matt plays, he comes down to the snare drum. 1, 2, a 3 E and. A 3 E and. And it's very subtle there. There is actually a ghost note being played on the E of beat 3. You're probably just hearing a 3 and, which is what you could play. Don't worry about getting that ghost note in. A 3 and 4, a 3 and 4. But what he actually plays is a 3 and 4. Can you hear that subtle difference there? When you put the ghost note in, it sort of just grooves a little bit more. So that's what Matt's playing there. Underneath it, I think he plays the bass drum on beat 3. So that second bar, 1, 2, a 3 and 4 and 1. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1. I accidentally played all of them the same volume. So you're really just hearing, but there is a subtle ghost note in there. So let's hear those 2 bars played a couple of times up to speed. So this next section occurs at 3 minute 11. And I don't think it's actually on the single version. I only think it's on the album version, but I had to include it because it's really cool. Matt's playing up on the ride cymbal. He's not playing the bell for a change, he's just playing on the normal part of the ride cymbal. And we got these, again, half-time kind of feels, but he's using the rack toms to create an effect. So the first bar, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. The high tom there on the and, the beat 2 in between the ride cymbal. Then the second bar is very similar, but he uses the medium tom, or the next tom down. If you started here, you'd use that tom. But he plays 3 and on the bass drum. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Next bar is the same as the first bar. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And then the fourth bar has this really cool drum fill. 1, 2, but from beat 2 he moves into eighth note triplets. 1 and 2 triplet 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 triplet 3 and 4 and. It's all about the orchestration. He plays 2 triplet 3 and 4 and. Pretty sure that's the order of toms he plays. That also makes sense. It goes down the toms nicely. You're not crossing over any arms, so that makes sense to me. I think this is what Matt's playing. 2 triplet 3. So it starts on the ride cymbal. 2 triplet 3. Then you just move down and 4 and the bass drum ends it. You could play the extra floor tom on the end of 4, but Matt plays a bass drum there instead. 1, 2 triplet 3 and 4 and 1. So it just flows so nicely the way Matt plays it. So those 4 bars kind of slow. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 triplet 3 and 4 and 1. And a couple of times up to speed. So nearing the end of the song at 4 minutes, Matt's sort of going a little bit crazy now with the bass drums. They open up hi-hats, and there's this really cool drum fill at the ends of the bar. So we're back to our 7-4-4 structure. So the first bar of 7 is 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7. And I think I hear a bass drum on beat 7 with that snare drum. And 5, 6, 7 and. Then we got the same idea going into the next bar of 4 we had previously, that little 3-note rough. But this time it goes into a crash cymbal with the bass drum. So that second bar. But then at the end, from beat 4, he comes up to the hi-hat with his other hand and he plays 4 and 1 and 2. Just like right, left, 4 and 1 and 2 ands. 4 and 1 and 2 and. The bass drum's playing 4 and 1 and 2 ands. 4 and 1 and 2 ands. He doesn't play the hi-hat on the and or 2, but you could, well, you probably shouldn't, because next you then come down to the snare drum to play the snare drum on its own. And this requires some fast bass drum work. He plays 3E into a snare and into a bass and crash on the E of 3, 16th notes, 3E and bass drum there on the beat 3, 3E and then I think this is what he plays at the end of the bar. You're probably just hearing 4 and but I'm hearing this extra ghost note playing. So I think he actually played 4E, 4E. So it's like 4E and then he comes down to the snare drum to play the last 2 notes right, left. But it's that ghost note straight after the snare and crash on beat 4 that's played with the left hand. So he's actually playing a left hand double. So you can just leave out the ghost note and play, and that'll sound very much like the recording, but I'm pretty sure that's what Matt's playing. So quite a lot going on in those 3 bars. Let me play it slowly for you. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, a 40 and a 1. And let's hear that up to speed. So then finally at 4 minute 44 for the outro, Matt moves to the hi-hat, and for the first time in the song, he's playing eighth notes all the way through on the hi-hat, the closed hi-hat, and he's accenting the guitar part with the open hi-hat in a really cool way. We've still got those snare drums falling on 3, beat 7, and then beat 3 and beat 3, but the hi-hat is, as you'll hear when you listen to the song in context with the drum beat, you'll hear it following the melody in a really cool way. So the first bar, relatively simple this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then and 5 and 5, open hi-hat on the and of 4 there, and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1, and again at the end of the bar, 7 and 1. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1. Really cool that. Then the next bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Simple as that. Last bar, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 1 at the end. Then the next line he changes the bass drum slightly at the beginning. 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7 and 1. But that same idea with the open hi-hat's exactly the same place. Next bar has the extra bass drum, 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1. And the last bar turns it around in a cool way. We get 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Actually, it's exactly the same as the bar above it. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. So slowly getting up to speed, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2. I'll keep that in. And 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1, 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. And now let's hear it properly without me up. Here we go. So I hope you enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun for me. A real interesting challenge to play any of Matt Cameron's drum parts. You're working on odd time signatures. You've got the independence of the hi-hat foot if you want to include that. You've got lots of groove, lots of ghost notes. By the way, I don't think I mentioned it enough times or even once, but well, at the beginning I think I did, but Matt does throw in ghost notes in different places, so feel free to explore where you put your ghost notes. Don't feel you have to play exactly what I've written on the chart here. The ghost notes are sort of added spice on top of something, so feel free to explore your own ghost notes. That's a freedom every drummer has. So don't forget to download the free PDF that came with this lesson. Again, it's for free. You can find the link beneath this video. And then while you're at my website, you might consider signing up to become an online member. And what I currently offer for $97 is a full year's online access to every single full video song lesson I've ever recorded and transcribed. And that's coming up to 450 famous and popular songs, where unlike this lesson, I teach you the song from start to finish. You get every single bar. You get the fully transcribed PDF drum chart, and I've got almost 450 famous and popular songs on the website. I believe I've got at least one other Soundgarden song in full. If not, then I've got at least a good couple of others mini song lessons. So I've got basically what I'm saying is I've got lots of Soundgarden stuff on the website already. As a thank you for signing up for your $97, I'll give you access to even more. I'll give you hundreds of little videos teaching you many, many famous drum beats, fills, and even drum solos. I'll give you 3 ebooks I've written over the years containing hundreds more famous beats, fills, and solos. And then over the year of your subscription, you also gain instant online access to all the new material that I upload for my members. And I record new lessons every week unless I'm ill or on holiday. So you've got lots of cool stuff to look forward to over the year of your subscription. If you want to make any song suggestions, then go over to my YouTube community tab, or you can join me over on my Facebook page. I also ask my Facebook followers for their song suggestions. But if you've got any questions about any of that, feel free to email me at robertdrumstheword.com. And until the next drum lesson together, toodle pip and happy drumming to you.